Hello and welcome back to another video. So this time I'm going to be talking about a novel, World of Warcraft, War Crimes. It's the latest novel in the, well, I suppose long enough running series of novels tied into the Warcraft universe, and this is a first impressions video. And when I say first impressions, well, I can't exactly tell you what page number I've got to, because I was listening to the audiobook, so about an hour and 45 minutes in. Before anyone rages at me, don't worry, I'm, when I have the time, an avid reader of novels, but it just doesn't really fit into my schedule at the minute, and the most convenient thing to do is to go for a walk or, lie down and just listen. So that's how I'm experiencing the novel, and so far I'm going to say I'm really enjoying it, and I just thought it would be nice to give people my first impressions. Now, there are going to be no spoilers, bar just talking about the general idea. We all know that it is Garrosh's trial, we've all seen the end cinematic, and I have got to the point just before the trial kicks off in earnest. No details, nothing like that, but all I'm just going to say is that I'm really, really pleasantly surprised. I don't really know what I went into this thinking, honestly, because I have heard great things about the book. I previously had seen fantastic reviews for it, but then also it was slightly marred just by my internal perception of, oh, it's a tie-in book. It's a bit of extended universe, it's one of those books. It's like one of those Star Wars external universe things, or one of those trashy Warhammer books. I didn't really know what I was getting into. And this is bad for someone who really likes the Warcraft lore, doesn't particularly like how they tell it in-game, but is interested in the world. This has actually got me really excited, because Christy Golden's a really bloody good author. Actually, she did a great job of characterizing everybody. I think that's the initial thing that I got. And I think one of the best things that you get is, because she sort of, moves from point of view to point of view, some of the various characters involved, you actually get a bit more introspection there. And it's funny actually, it's one of the things that I love about Game of Thrones in terms of the books more than the television show, is that on TV you rarely get the introspection that the POV characters in the books give you. And absolutely in this, I'll just say, there was a chapter where you're in the head of Jaina. That won't be a surprise to anyone, right? But the introspection is interesting. You get to see that character's take in the world, and more importantly, take in other characters. What we always see in Warcraft, or at least what we mostly see, is how characters react to the general situation at hand. And honestly, it's not written that well. Okay, I'll admit that voice acting is better now than it used to be, but I think the in-game quality of writing really it's still rather lackluster. However, actually seeing this in novel form by, a novelist who can actually write really well. I've not read enough of her stuff to give it full on, she's a fantastic author, but at least my initial impression is that she probably is a fantastic author, because I really have enjoyed just the first, little section, how things have been crafted, how she's described and various things. And one of the interesting things about this novel is that it's of course based in a world that we all know, yet her descriptions of areas and, buildings and things like that, they just add this different level over what you see in game. I was initially just a little bit worried that because we know about all these places, we know what they all are, we've been there in game, that it would just sort of rob you of one of the key things about a book, which is imagination, being able to think of these things for yourself. And I'll say it definitely hasn't done that. She adds just this extra little layer of intrigue, or interest, whatever, of richness to everywhere in the world that she describes. And she paints a very vivid picture of the zones, the settings, the characters. It is all actually very well done, which surprises me greatly. I can't really talk much about how the plot is going. So far, it is exactly what I would have expected, but obviously it's just the setup of the book. From what I hear, there are one or two little interesting things that go on, and, stuff. And, of course, another great thing about the book and just its setting is that it is the first time the leaders of both factions have sort of been together. They're going to this trial, as we know from the blurb and front cover of the book, they're all there, so not a spoiler, but it really is interesting actually getting to see what each leader sort of thinks about the other ones, and hearing their little quips and thoughts about each other. It's cool, and of course, there's two sisters there, and everyone knows who, there's two sisters who maybe meet up, and they're on different sides of things. I don't even that's just something which I've heard has got a great bit of plot and stuff in it, but right now, I haven't actually got to any of that, though, well, of course, you know, it's Sylvanas and Varisa, so get to see what goes on there. But overall, just gonna say, it's well written, it's extremely interesting. She describes things very well. I can't really point out any major, you know, criticism or anything like that. All I can say is I've enjoyed the flow of her writing, I've enjoyed the story, I've enjoyed the character work, especially the character work, and I think you can definitely tell how used she is to writing Jaina's character. Of course, the previous novel that was, you know, came out right before Mists of Pandaria was based solely on Jaina as a character, and she definitely does a very good job of writing that character, and yeah, just overall, really good impressions from me, and it's certainly worth picking up. Now, I'll just talk a little bit about the audiobook in specific. And the audiobook itself's actually, it's very interesting. I've not read, read's not really the word, I've not listened to an audiobook in ages, but one of the nice things is the chapters are actually broken by a little bit of music, and it's very well produced. Really, the whole thing's well produced. And the narrator, now, the narrator, initially I wasn't 100% sure about him. I wasn't 100% sure, but he's got a appropriate amount of sort of gravel in his voice, nice, you know, deep, relaxing, well spoken, and one of the things that he does quite well is just conveying characters' feelings and emotion via his, you know, just how he sort of enunciates their lines, and he does that quite well. I guess one bit of criticism that could be pointed out is female characters. It's not like he tries to do, you know, a female voice or anything, but there's some sort of distinction there, but I'm not 100% sure about it, but what it does do very well is at least communicate the emotion, maybe the sharpness of their tone or something like that, and after 10 minutes I was completely used to it, which was fine. But overall, it's well done, and the guy's certainly got a voice for book narrating. So, props to him. Anyway, they're just my initial thoughts. Completely spoiler-free. Obviously, doing a spoiler-free review of something does limit you a little bit, so that's why this isn't a particularly long video. But still, I thought it would be worth showing to you guys and that kind of thing. Anyway, so, the recommendation is, at least right now, pick it up if you're interested in the lore. And well, actually, one other thing, it does rely heavily enough on you knowing the general lore of World of Warcraft, but as long as you know that, you'll totally understand the book fine. And Christie Golden actually did a very good job of giving a brief sort of you know, description of past events, so maybe with Rathian. She talked a little bit about the story in the Badlands where the Red Dragon or whatever saved Rathian, but she did that, she described it in a way that didn't really break the flow of the book, which was quite well done. Anyway, so yeah, as long as you know the general goings on in Warcraft, you'll understand the story of the book and you'll be able to enjoy it just fine. And yeah, that's it for the video. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and maybe if you pick it up, hope you enjoyed the book, and I'll see you next time.